Welcome to Beyond the Coverage. I'm Chris Horner. Today's edition, I want to go back to yesterday's Paris-Nice Stage 8. That fiasco from Remco Evenepoel giving away a chance at winning the general classification for the stage win, for the green jersey, for the polka dot jersey, and of course, for second on the podium. Now, I don't like it. I told you guys I did. I saw a ton of comments that disagree with me. And I'm okay with that. I totally am okay with that. That's why we have the show, is to discuss and have some kind of analysis of the stage and give you my point of view. And then, of course, when there's so many that disagree with me in the comments, like we see here with Golf Gal 98, she says in here that once they reach the time bonus, Jorgenson no longer has to work with Remco Evenepoel. Of course, that's one of the crucial points in yesterday's Stage 8 for Remco Evenepoel. But there's a whole lot of more strategy going on. And now I have time, because this is beyond the coverage and not the butterfly effect, to go into some of the details of what could have happened for Remco Evenepoel to win the general classification. Now, if I back it up in years past, I can tell you stories about where Alberto Contador was throwing in attacks left and right and going 100% for the GC, never just trying to win the stage. Alberto Contador has given up second at the general classification at the Tour de France, when he was riding against Chris Froome and throwing in attacks left and right to try to win the Tour de France. He was never happy with the stage win. He wasn't happy with second. He wasn't happy with third. He certainly wasn't happy with fourth. So he was throwing everything in on those years when he wasn't the race leader going into the last stages with crazy attacks to try to go all in for a win. Sometimes he would win the overall general classification from those, and sometimes, like at Tour de France, he would lose and go to fourth on the general classification when it was all said and done. And then the following years, I would see sports newscasters, commentators talking about how, well, he wasn't so good last year, he only finished fourth. That wasn't true. Alberto Contador could have easily been second, but he was going all in for the win. So when we go back to yesterday's Stage 8 of Paris-Nice 2024, when I see Remco Evenepoel slamming the phone down at the end of Stage 8, I'm not happy. When I see the comments later, I understand why you think that way when we see Golf Gal 98 saying, well, after the time bonus, Jorgenson didn't have to work. He does have to work. He absolutely has to work. But let's back it up to that first Category 1 climb when Remco was blowing everything away. It's him, it's Jorgenson, and it's Vlasov going up the road at that point in time, with Brandon McNulty chasing back there with Skilmos. Of course, he has Primoz Roglic. That has Vlasov in the front group. So Primoz Roglic doesn't have to work, of course. Plapp's back there. Doesn't look like he can work. And we see that Scaroni's back there too. So Scaroni's not working. Primoz Roglic isn't going to work. And of course, Plapp is at the limit, so he's not working much, if any at all. But Brandon McNulty, Skilmos are taking pulls back there. They're about 1:20 when they come up to the time bonus, but let's go back to about 26 kilometers to go. The time bonus is going to arrive at about 22.5 kilometers to go. From what I can tell, for sure, from 24.5 kilometers all the way to 22.5 kilometers, Remco Evenepoel's pulling on the front for sure. 100%, no doubt about it. I watched the film. He's pulling on the front for 2 kilometers all the way into the time bonus, and Jorgenson takes the time bonus of 6 seconds. That puts Jorgenson in the race leader. As Golf Gal 98 explained in her comments, he's now race leader. He's not the virtual leader. He is the race leader of Paris-Nice. Now, when I look at Remco Evenepoel, what was he doing? First off, I believe he pulled on the front for at least 4 kilometers, but I don't know that as fact. For sure 2, which is ridiculous. If he pulled for 4, it's even bigger knuckleheadism if he pulled for 4 kilometers going into that time bonus. If we take it all the way back to the meeting in the bus before the race even began, possibly the night before when he's talking with the director sportif, because every time he finishes a stage, he talks about how he's going to go into a meeting the night before and talk with the directors. So if that's the case, I honestly think the directors told him, hey, if you can win the stage and get out of here with the stage win and get on the podium, we're good with this, which is going to change the mindset of Remco Evenepoel at this point in time after going up the Category 1 climb with 40 kilometers to go when he's blown everything up and he has Jorgenson on his wheel. Once Jorgenson says, hey, Remco, I don't want the stage. You can have that. I want GC. I think Remco went all in for just that stage. And then, of course, the sprint jersey, KOM jersey came later. That was a bonus. But I'm pretty certain Jorgenson said, hey, as soon as they got to the top of the Category 1, hey, I don't want the stage. I'll work with you. This was the first mistake right here for Remco Evenepoel, because you want the general classification. Nobody's going to remember that he won one stage here at Paris-Nice. It's not that important. Just like Alberto Contador knew, winning a stage at Paris-Nice, winning a stage at the Tour de France with his resume already was meaningless. Winning the general classification was everything. That's why I was unhappy with the stage. Now let's go into just before the time bonus, and let's say Remco Evenepoel doesn't pull for 4 kilometers, or that for sure 2 kilometers that I visually saw him pulling the whole time. Let's say he steals the time bonus. He gains 6 seconds. Okay? 6 seconds is putting him already on the podium. You've already achieved one goal. You're on the podium. You're ahead of Skilmos if the group stays away. Again, I don't care about the podium, but maybe they had a conversation with the directors from Soudal Quick-Step and they didn't think the kid was capable of winning general classification, being 36 down on GC from Brandon McNulty. But let me remind you, only 32 seconds down on Jorgenson, so he doesn't need as much time from Jorgenson as he does Brandon McNulty. Let's say he wins the time sprint competition there, he gains 6 seconds. More importantly, by winning the time bonification from Jorgenson is that Jorgenson gets second, that's 4 seconds. Now Jorgenson and Brandon McNulty are tied on time, which means Jorgenson no longer has the upper hand. Now, I would assume they would go back to the team time trial and go to the split seconds to find out if UAE Team Emirates Brandon McNulty was faster than Jorgenson. I tried to look that up, but I couldn't find the split seconds. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they go to stage placings. Maybe Soudal Quick-Step maybe figured out the time placings where Jorgenson would have finished if he was in second with 4 seconds tied on time, and UAE Team Emirates would have done the same, and Visma Lease Bike would have done the same to figure out the math who would be in the race leader's real jersey after the time bonification with 22.5 kilometers to go. Let's say Remco wins it, he gains 6 seconds. He's 30 seconds down on the general classification, and basically Jorgenson and Brandon McNulty are tied on time. That changes the whole chemistry, being tied on time, if you don't know exactly who is going to be in the race leader's yellow jersey. Because remember, if they're tied on time and they don't do it by the split seconds of the team time trial, they'll do it by stage placings. Possibly the stage placings are close, which means the end of today's stage 8, yesterday's stage 8, excuse me, will decide who wins Paris-Nice, which means Jorgenson might have to continue to work up front there with Remco Evenepoel, or maybe he knows he's got a buffer. We don't know that, but it changes the chemistry a little bit because he's no longer the hands-down yellow jersey wearer here after the time bonus sprint. So, even after that, when we look at Golf Gal's 98 comments of saying that Jorgenson won the time bonification, he's in the race leader's jersey by 2 seconds over Brandon McNulty, he doesn't have to work. You're wrong in this case right here, Golf Gal, because if the 3 sit up in front, if Remco looks over at Jorgenson and says, I don't have to work with you, I'm going to go back to the group. In the group behind, 5 riders chasing, 3 up front. He sits up here, he goes back to the group. Now there's 8 riders in the front group. There's 1 Jorgenson, there's 1 Brandon McNulty, there's 1 from Soudal Quick-Step called Remco Evenepoel that we're talking about, and of course 2 from Bora Hansgrohe. Plapp is there, and Matteo Jorgenson's there. It's chaos again. Remember stage 9? I'm sorry, not stage 9. Remember Friday's stage? It's chaos again where no one has teammates with the exception of Bora Hansgrohe. So when they're attacking, we look at Jorgenson, he has to cover all the moves. Even if he's wearing the race leader's yellow jersey, which they would all know that he's the race leader now at Paris-Nice, he would have to cover the moves. All of a sudden, Remco Evenepoel can sit up and go, hey, I'm not race leader here. I'm not wearing the leader's jersey. If you want to bring that move back that Brandon McNulty just attacked up the road with Primoz Roglic after they caught us from behind, if Plapp is going up the road, he's down on general classification. There's a little bit more of a gap to Plapp, but he's still a threat if he gets up the road. Just like any one of those riders, especially Skilmos. That's why Trek did so much work throughout the stage. They wanted chaos. They wanted to see another stage like on Fridays and Saturday stages where there was just pure chaos amongst the GC guys and no teams could control it, because they knew if Skilmos was in a situation where no one had teammates, he could possibly get up and win the stage. Again, like he did on Friday. Again, when we go back to stage 4, the first mountain stage, where we saw Plapp in the race leader's yellow jersey and Santiago Buitrago won the stage. They only won the stage and took the jersey because it was chaos. So Remco Evenepoel always had the option, first at the top of the Category 1 climb, if Jorgenson doesn't work, and I'm Remco Evenepoel, I look over Jorgenson, I say, you're race leader. You can win Paris-Nice right now. You have to do more work than me. I saw all the comments that said, no, he doesn't. Bob Roll from NBC says he did not have to work with Remco. If I'm Remco, I'm looking at Jorgenson, and if I'm listening to Bob Roll and I'm Jorgenson not working, we're going back to the group back here. I'm setting up, I'm going back to the group, and I'm having chaos all over the place. If I go first, I'm going to try to go into the time bonus and take the time bonus, assuming Jorgenson works with me evenly. I'm going to have him pull at least the last K up to the time bonus because I know Jorgenson absolutely wants the 6-second time bonus, if not 4 seconds or 2 seconds even. So Jorgenson should have been the one riding the front for the time bonus, but Remco Evenepoel doesn't know how to tactically race his bike, and he gave up the time bonuses. Or like I told you earlier in the show, what I believe, Jorgenson looked over at Remco and said, I'm not interested in the stage, I just want the jersey. And that's why we saw Remco Evenepoel pulling for what I believe was 6K, 4K, but what I know for a fact was at least 2K up to the time bonus when he lost and got second. Now remember, after the time bonus, the race is still not over. Again, a lot of times when I saw the comments, people are saying the race is over, he has the race leader's jersey. It is not over when the time is within 30 seconds to first, second, third, and fourth on GC, and everybody's still in the picture. You'll say, Chris, they're not in the picture. They're in the picture, the riders chasing behind. If Remco Evenepoel says, I don't want to work, I lost the time bonus, you're wearing the race leader's yellow jersey. If you want to hold off Brandon McNulty and Skilmos, then you ride the front. If you ride the front, when we hit the last climb, Côte de Chemins, with 13 kilometers to go, I'm going to try everything I can, tackling you left and right, and I'm going to drop you going up that climb because you've had to pull for the last 10 kilometers till we get into that climb, and I've been back there eating and drinking. Now I'm going to attack you going up the climb. I'm going to win the overall general classification here at Paris-Nice. I'm going to take the stage win. I'm going to take the mountains jersey and the sprint jersey. So when I look at the comments and when I look at the interview from Remco Evenepoel saying that he was happy with that stage, I'm sorry, I wasn't. And I especially wasn't happy after you were gifted the stage and pulled the race winner, Jorgenson, all the way to the finish of stage 8 just to slam the phone down to make a point. I thought that was ridiculous. If for sure you wanted the stage win and you wanted to move up onto the podium, okay, but come across the line, don't slam the phone down for sure. I'm still not happy with you giving up a shot at winning the general classification, especially when with my experience and I see the time bonification come up and you've ridden for 4 kilometers on the front and you give the time bonus away to Jorgenson. That moment while I'm sitting on the Chesterfield, I know the race is already finished. I'm like, they're going to work together. The group from behind can't catch. Remco's going to be given the stage. If he can drop Vlasov at the very least, if they don't drop Vlasov at the last climb, Jorgenson's going to pull into the sprint, and then Remco Evenepoel is going to come off his wheel because Jorgenson doesn't care about the stage. So I know basically the stage has finished for my viewing while I'm watching it on the Chesterfield with 22.6 kilometers to go. There's not a whole lot left for me to enjoy the race. That's why I'm not happy with my experience watching it. But keep in mind, if you're Remco Evenepoel and you're looking at his stories when he's saying, well, the only race that I really regret that we did wrong, he doesn't regret today's stage 8, and he doesn't regret stage 4. Stage 4 was the only stage that Pseudo Quickstep should 100% regret. And then, of course, the finish of this stage 8, they should regret all over the place and erase that and redo it. But if we're looking at his interview and he's saying Friday is the only stage that he regrets, where he let Jorgensen, Skilmos go up the road to win the stage along with Brandon McNulty, that's a mistake. Stage 4 was the stage that was still under his control because stage 4 of Paris-Nice, when Bora Hansgrohe blew the whole field up, then we see Plapp go up the road, and of course we see Santiago Buitrago later go up the road and win the stage. That was the day that Pseudo Quickstep still had teammates with Remco Evenepoel. He only had to have his team ride 10, 15 kilometers of that stage, 15 at least, 15, maybe 17 kilometers of that stage, and then Remco attacks on the climb, and all of a sudden he's further up on general classification because he wins stage 4 and wins the stage, which takes the pressure off of Remco Evenepoel and possibly puts him really close to the race leader's yellow jersey, or into the race leader's yellow jersey, which would have changed all the tactics thereafter. But certainly, when we're talking about Friday's stage that Skilmos won, that stage was not the stage that Pseudo Quickstep needed to worry about, because he can't really affect the outcome of that race so much like he could have on stage 4, where he rides his teammates, he controls the stage. Remember, many times in the butterfly effect, I always say, I want to be the team controlling the race, because if I can control the race, I can predict what's going to happen. I can predict what my 6 teammates will do for me. And then he failed to put his team on the front to ride in for that stage to win the time bonus and to put himself closer or into the yellow jersey on stage 4, which meant it would have been a clear view, basically like a horse putting the blinders on. It was a clear view if he had himself in the race leader's yellow jersey after stage 4 or closer. If he was only a few seconds behind, it's a clear view for a young kid of his age to know that these riders I have to watch, that I'm in the race leader's yellow jersey, we have to ride our team. I am the strongest rider here. I still believe, even up here and beyond the coverage, that Jorgenson was very, very good. Exceptional win for the American there at Paris-Nice. But I think he was smarter than Remco, Evenepoel, and cagier, and I think he was almost as strong as Remco, but not exactly as strong. Remco was better, but used his energy unwisely throughout the whole week of racing, used his team with terrible tactics throughout the whole racing through Paris-Nice, especially stage 4. And then, of course, Jorgenson just was smart. He turned over the Remco right when they got to the top of the Col de Pelée, I'm sure, with 40 kilometers to go, looked at Remco and said, I don't care about the stage. That put in the mind there of Remco Evenepoel that, wow, I can get the stage, and maybe I can get some jerseys, and I can be on the podium. But that's where the mistake was made the night before, I bet, when he's talking to his director sportifs, and they're like, let's try to at least win the stage and get on the podium. We see that can happen. Versus, I told you guys on the butterfly effect, Remco Evenepoel could still win Paris-Nice. After the time bonus, sit up. You didn't win the time bonus, ridiculously, because you rode for 4 kilometers on the front. But sit up, let the group come back. Then it's chaos all over. The race restarts. The chaos begins again. McNulty attacks, Primož Roglič attacks, Vlasov attacks, Plapp attacks, Skilmos attacks. Jorgenson can't cover all of them, and he's in the race leader's yellow jersey after the time bonification. We don't know the outcome. On the butterfly effect, I never tell you that this is the outcome of what would happen, but I can guarantee you 100% if he sits up and stops working with Jorgenson and Jorgenson pulls him into the final climb, Remco attacks him, I can guarantee you that if Jorgenson doesn't pull into the final climb, the group from behind catches, possibly even the second group with Egan Bernal, and now all of a sudden, Remco Evenepoel has not 1 but 2 teammates, because Vervaeke was in that group and Matteo Cattaneo was in that group, and so those 2 riders, if nothing else, could have just rode the front all the way down into the final climb. Then Remco Evenepoel wouldn't be the one doing 80% of the work, go into the final climb, and then he can start the attacks all over again, because I believe, up here on Beyond the Coverage, that of the 2 riders, Jorgenson and Remco Evenepoel, he was the stronger of the 2, like I've already told you. But Jorgenson was just flat out intelligent, tactical racing here at Paris-Nice. It was artwork when you see what the Visma rider did at his age here. Jorgenson was marvelous. Congratulations on your win, Jorgenson. I enjoyed watching the whole week of Paris-Nice. Like and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next edition real soon.